We rolling, and welcome back to another episode of the Get Louder podcast. We have a very special guest in the house, don't we?
We do.
Yes, we do. His name is Federico Lathrop. He is from Chile, and he is here with us. What's up, Federico? How you doing, man?
Hey, nice to see you guys. Nice to connect again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, so great to have you on the show. Met you recently. You know, we all hit it off right away. Your personality, your vibe, and your passion for what you do. And so we had to get you on the show, man. You know what I'm
thank
saying?
you.
So, yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got started into the career you're in now.
Mm-hmm. So, I've been an attorney for 11 years, actually. I first became a lawyer in Chile, in Santiago. I was doing transactional work, real estate. And I just didn't like it. It seemed pretty repetitive and tedious.
Yeah.
And then I was looking for something else. I'm a dual citizen, so I have a U.S. citizenship and a Chilean citizenship.
Nice.
And it was always on the back of my mind to study law in the United States. You know, you see lawyers in movies, and it's like every lawyer in the world wants to be that lawyer in the courtroom,
Right.
you know, cross-examining a witness. Or at least that's what I wanted to do. But then when I started working, doing transactional work, it wasn't like that.
None of that.
So then I come to the United States. I went to UCLA and I studied law. And I realized, whoa, those lawyers exist. And I landed my first job in the United States after I passed the bar with a personal injury wildfire trial lawyer.
Okay.
So
Wildfire
trial lawyer. So yeah, this guy started. He's a well-known attorney in San Diego, one of the best back in the day, and now he's towards retirement. And he was doing personal injury trial work until this big fire hit San Diego. I think it was 2007. And he realized that was a great gig. Wildfires happen every year. And he started taking wildfire cases from then and really made a lot of money helping a lot of people, because you're scaling your work. You're not only helping one person, you're helping a huge community of people. So that's good. And at the same time, the type of work that we do, we get a percentage of the wins.
Right.
So if we lose, the client, of course, doesn't win anything, but we lose all of our money.
Right.
So it's very satisfying in that regard because you're investing in your client. So when you see someone, you meet someone that you want to represent, for them it's a win-win situation. They don't need to spend any money except for when you get the settlement, and then they give you a portion of it,
Right.
So it's the same with a community. You get your house burned, big neighborhoods that just succumbed to fire, and you handle those cases. And they wait until they get the settlement or the trial verdict if you take them to trial.
Right.
So on the PI side, you get to go to court and you get to try cases and you get to speak to a jury. And now it's not about knowing the law. It's about connecting and, getting the voice of your client across the table to people of the community. And that's something that I never thought I would be able to do as a Chilean lawyer, So here I am, landing my first job in San Diego, and I'm going to trial representing a family that got rear-ended. And we can talk about this later, but a policy that was 30,000 limit, we ended up getting 500,000, 400,000, with interest, costs, and all that, we're going to end up getting 650,000,
Wow.
So imagine, you have this limit and you have this people that are your representative that really need the money, that really struggle since the time that someone, acted wrongfully. They come to you in need. They need to pay medical bills, and you guys know how expensive the medical care here it is.
Ridiculous.
And you're helping them. You're getting them back in their feet. A full family. It's the same with a community in a wildfire devastation.
Yeah.
So that was very fulfilling. And then you have the competitive approach. I've been always very competitive in sports, and now I'm competing against my colleagues on the defense bar,
Yeah.
And that's really challenging, and it's enriching, mentally enriching.
Absolutely.
Um,
So when you When you were with that previous firm doing how many did you deal with a lot of wildfire cases yourself?
Yeah. So we dealt with many wildfires, and we dealt with the most destructive wildfire in the history of California until then. I don't know if it's the most destructive after the Dixie Fire, but it was the Camp Fire. There is a documentary on Netflix. It's called, I believe it's Hell in Paradise, because the town that was affected by the wildfire was the town of Paradise, you know? Wow. And I went there in January of 2019, because the fire started in 2018 by the end. And it was a full town. Houses were all on the ground, you know, and we were representing and helping people from that town.
So with a wildfire case, who are you going against? Like who is the defendant?
So some clients have insurance, and the service we provide is we help you with your insurance for free. You don't need to pay us anything from what your insurance pays you. But then when you don't have enough insurance to pay for your emotional damages, because your insurance insures your home and not even. You know, it insures part of your home because rebuilding is way too expensive, and then you have limits. So there is a balance there between what an insurance covers, the policy, and then all of your emotional damages. When you lose your home, you get, you lose your life.
Devastated.
So you need to like figure out a place where to live, and some of these folks, they live paycheck by paycheck, every month, and all of a sudden they have to figure out, where am I going to live, So it's pretty rough. A lot of PTSD, little kids wondering where is their school, where are their friends now, It's
wow.
pretty devastating.
In a wildfire case, when there's like, let's say, a whole neighborhood that got burnt down, right?
Yeah.
How often does that same exact area get rebuilt? And those same people ever go back to that same area?
Yeah,
or are they always displaced somewhere else?
It can take decades. It can take 10 years, 15 years. They rebuild, but nobody really wants to live that again.
Right.
So,
right. They don't want to live in the same place.
Yeah. So they want to sell, and legally speaking, when you sell, it's worse because rebuild versus diminution in value. And I think we spoke. We spoke about this.
Yeah.
The money you get when you sell your home is going to be always less than what you're going to get if you rebuild. You need to seek always, and for everyone listening right now, if you suffer any type of calamity, devastating event, you lose your home, you don't want to sell that home. You want to rebuild that home. If you get the money, then sell the home. But up until you don't get the money, you want to rebuild. That's what you want because you're going to get more money. So the balance between what the insurance pays you and what you actually lost gets paid for who caused the fire. And who caused the fire? It's every year the same entity. It's a utilities company, electricity poles, electricity, utilities, PG&E, SDG&E. They should have done something that they haven't done, which is build their wires underground.
Yeah.
And the investment to do that was way too high, but I think they have paid more in damages than doing the investment in the first place. Yeah. So yeah.
What about a case where it's like essentially arson or an accident where some person starts the fire?
Yeah. Well, I feel like wasn't that 2018 fire? Wasn't that caused by like a gender reveal? Like they popped off the firework or whatever, and then that's what caused the fire?
Yeah. So actually, that's actually a very good question and it's something that everybody needs to know. If you don't have a big financial, entity like an entity that has a big financial back, to support and to pay for the damages, you're out of luck. So yeah, anyone, an arson, it's the same like when you get rear-ended or like someone runs you over that doesn't have insurance, Unfortunately, if you don't have insurance, if you're not like well off to pay for your damages, the third party doesn't have the money. We're not going to blame, the nature,
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, there needs to be someone at fault that has the capacity to pay for the damages.
So like for the people of Maui, for instance, people are trying to come up and buy their land for pennies on a dollar.
Yeah.
They they should be like, no, we're not selling. And I think they are. They're like, we're not selling our land. We're rebuilding our land. And this is where we want to live.
So I'm not licensed in Hawaii. I don't know, specifically how the laws apply there as opposed to California. But I think it's a national, it's a national thing that exists, that when you rebuild, you get more than when you sell the home. But I couldn't tell you with certainty because each state has their own laws and it may be different. I know that Hawaii, as opposed to California, is not that victim oriented. In California, you have more legal actions that victims can seek when a utilities company like PG&E, for example, when they cause a fire, you have a type of legal, I would say, vehicle, it's called inverse condemnation. And that comes from the Fifth Amendment, eminent domain. So when the government takes something from you, the government needs to pay you back, right? It's the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment. And basically the theory behind is these utilities companies are half private, half public. And the reason why these fires happen in the first place is because they have these wires with easements, crossing the state. So when a fire starts, because of this easement, there is a takings from the government, it's a half government, in favor of public utility company. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the theory starts. And what that does is it gives you attorney's fees as a victim. So you don't need to pay your attorney for all of the economic losses. And then it's easier to prove also, So there are a lot of legal advantages in California that not necessarily exist in other places. Yeah. They could, but since wildfires happen so much here, all of these theories have been tried in court, and they have like filed motions for summary judgment, trying to take them out of the equation. Then they lose. Then it goes to appeal. And that's how you start building a case law here in the United States.
Right.
So is it the utility company? So you sue the utility company, and it's not the utility company that pays you; it's their insurance company that pays you.
So they have insurance, and the insurance may pay you up to a limit. In for example, the campfire, that limit was way too low. So we maxed the insurance and we got more against the utilities company. So you get to a settlement. In that case, it was a $13.5 billion settlement. Yeah. They ended up going to bankruptcy, and they created a trust with a judge, and that's the way that they are distributing the money. So now, instead of proving your case against the other side, you're proving it with a judge that assesses, what happened.
Did they appeal that settlement?
No, that was an actual settlement. So yeah, that's the difference between when you get like a verdict or you get a settlement. The settlement is always when both parties are in agreement.
They settled. Right. I got it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was something that allowed them to keep their business going with a restructuring process, the Chapter 11. Right. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yep. So basically, they liquidate their assets and they are able to keep going, keep doing their business at the same time paying for their debts. Part of that 13.5 was paid up front. The first stage, and then the second stage was paid with a shareholder, equity in PG&E. And then if you wanted to sell that, you were able to get the money. Right. So I don't know. It's interesting. You can come up with creative ways to settle cases when there's no money,
Yeah.
So with a $13.5 billion settlement, how does that get dispersed to the victims?
Yeah. So in this case, they created the Fire Victims Trust, and this Fire Victims Trust is a trust that is overseen by a judge. So the judge is in charge of assessing the losses of each family, each person, and then distributing the funds in different installments, Right. And this is important, I think, to mention here that wildfires, like mass tort cases, are different to class actions. Right. When there is a wildfire case, whenever an attorney says this is a class action, you need to be suspicious. That attorney probably wants to get money soon and just
settle,
get out of it and settle. For the defendant, it's more advantageous to go on a class action structure because you just share the same pie between all of the folks.
All even.
But in mass torts, what you do is you go and you do liability altogether. So, all of the plaintiffs against the same defendant, they are taking the same depositions. They don't take them several times. It's just one deposition per employee, for example. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to damages, that is the other track, you need to prove each one of the victim's damages. So I'm in a family of, we're 4 siblings. My sister had it harder because, she was more sensitive and more risk averse and less adventure, and I didn't want to go out of her, comfort zone, whatever. She suffered PTSD. Her emotional damages are going to be way higher than my damages, that maybe I can just restart my life in another place. I may have money to, reestablish myself, although we are in the same house, So that's a mass tort. It's a different damages,
It probably takes forever.
And you need to prove them.
Yeah.
Because this is the other thing about what we do. It's like, how do you prove emotional damages,
Emotional damage.
Yeah, emotional damages. How do you prove them?
Yeah.
How do you how do you think you prove emotional damages?
I'm assuming that when you're proving emotional damages, it's usually towards a jury.
Right.
Yeah, so that's just, you need to be compelling. You need to be able to tell a story.
Yeah. Imagine if you were in this situation and you had to rebuild and you lost everything you worked for and you're getting check to check, and most Americans are getting paid living check to check, so they can relate and empathize.
But you know what? It's interesting what you're saying, because that's the way that everybody would tend to think. I would like to put the jury in the shoes of my client, but let me tell you, you can't. You can't tell the jury, imagine if this was your daughter. Imagine if this was you. No, you can't do it.
Legally, you can't do that.
Yeah, no, you can't.
So remember A Time to Kill? The movie A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel Jackson? That's what he says. Yeah. He says that to the jury, and it's like...
So
imagine it's just...
So imagine I'm the jury right now.
Yeah.
I'm the jury. Compel me.
Okay, so what are the losses? What's the case about? What I need to compel you?
I just lost my house in a fire, and I'm displaced and I'm broke.
Okay.
And he loves to hike
behind the house.
Right behind the house. He was doing all kind of outdoor activities.
I paid my very last, I barely made it to buy that house. I worked 20 years to buy that house. I got me 3 kids, and I moved over to this mountain, because I like to hike, and it was more affordable than the city. And now it's all gone. What do I do?
So the process starts with an opening statement where you tell the jury what you're gonna show during the case. You make commitments with the jury. You need to be non-argumentative. So basically, you're gonna meet this person that has been working his whole life. You're gonna meet his kids, caring, loving family, well-established, in the community. Everybody knows them. They were doing everything right. He was saving money to take their kids to college. You're gonna hear from them in the case. And then you go over the evidence, what you are going to present to the jury. And then you address what the defendant is going to do in this case. And then the defendant, when they stand up and they do the opening, they do the same. And then the case starts, you cross-examine witnesses, you present the evidence, and then it comes the closing. So the closing argument is what you guys see on movies, where you can be argumentative. Yeah. And you can cry, you're gonna try to convey those feelings to the other side. And this is funny. There are attorneys. I think there's one attorney in LA who they say he cries every time he's up there.
Like a good actor.
But I don't know if he's actually acting or he cares
really feels it
so much,
Oh, okay.
The defense, they say he's an actor, and they file motions asking the judge to forbid this lawyer from...
No way! You're like, hey, bro, no tears today.
Yeah. So it's like,
I just feel so passionate about this.
If I feel like I cry because I care so much, I feel it's hard to remember I have emotion that doesn't allow me to cry. But anyway, that's where I
can't cry either.
You convey, and you need to structure the closing, the trial, the opening, everything, the evidence in a way that you promise something, you comply with what you promise, you deliver what you're promising, and then at closing you make everything fit. and you need to do it in a way that is believable. And saying something believable is different to actually looking
And feel
at
it.
someone face to face and tell that person, look, we are not lying to you. We're not exaggerating. We're asking for this amount of money. And it's hard to ask for money, like even when you're selling a keyboard, you know, or
Sounds
anything.
like one of our sales calls.
I know, right?
You know, it's
Like I'm trying. Believe me.
yeah.
Send the crier.
Right? Yeah.
Right?
Where's the crier?
Hey, that must be an expensive attorney. We hired the crier.
Crier.
No,
his billboard is him. He's just up
I don't
there
want to.
like-
I don't want to say names, but he's amazingly good. He's one of the best
Yes,
lawyers. You know,
yes.
one of the best. Yeah, I respect that guy big time. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's a good.
I want him on my side when I'm in one of these cases.
You want him on your side.
I want him to
Yeah,
ball his
yeah.
eyes out.
The thing is, you know, in this profession, I don't want to represent you, and I don't want to represent you not because I don't like you, it's because I don't want you to live through the things that my client live. You know, my clients live.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I represent people that are really struggling.
Right.
So it's like it sounds cliche, but it's like I don't want you to need me, but if you need me, I'll do my best to
Right.
help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, of
and
course,
that's
yeah.
that's I don't want any of my friends to
Ever need you.
to have me
Yeah.
as
Well,
as their lawyer, because
And it's just
That
like
means-
it's just like with the personal injury side of it, right?
Yeah.
You get into a car wreck, right? Of course, like it could be like, well, the more catastrophic the car wreck, you know, the more money you get from the damages. Like, for instance, I know a guy. So I do jiu-jitsu. There's a guy, Jack Greener. He went up to Del Mar Jiu-Jitsu. And actually, nothing bad about. It's just a freak accident. Nothing bad about.
I know. I
these
think
guys.
I know about
Yeah,
the
and-
case you're gonna talk about.
Yeah, and then he
got
unfortunately he broke his neck.
Yeah.
You know, during a roll, but guy's neck broken, and he won $50 million.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I would much rather live not being a paraplegic or a semi-paraplegic than $50 million.
And be paraplegic.
Yeah, exactly. I'd much rather not have the
Yeah.
money and
Yeah.
be healthy than
Yeah.
have a broken neck.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
I
get $50
know
million.
one of the lawyers who handled that case. He's one of the best in the country. Rahul Ravibudi is his name. Super likable guy, down to earth. The type of people you know they are good people doing the good job. You know, and that's the thing in this profession that personal injury lawyers don't have a good reputation because they say they take money out of the system or they try to take advantage. But you can see as a human being when someone is selling you something that is really not deserved, you know? And that's why for me it's so good to have a jury, because when you think about it, is like I don't know, you have girlfriends, you know, like you had relationships back in the day, and sometimes getting together and agree on what you're gonna have for dinner is hard, or where you're gonna go, like family vacations, whatever. It's like kind of challenging sometimes, you know. Imagine putting 12 people that don't know each other and they have to agree on something, you know.
Yeah.
Imagine how challenging that is. You're gonna have one person on one side of the spectrum, another person on the other side of the spectrum, and
Voice is not recognized.
Sorry about that.
and yeah, and that's a challenging thing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like juries always award these huge verdicts. Not always, you know. Not always. For example, I have a very well deserving client who tripped and fell outside of a parking lot, and you say trip and fall case outside of a parking lot. That's a challenging case because jurors usually defend those cases, meaning plaintiffs, they lose, you know, because it's a trip and fall, like she didn't look where she was going or
Right.
whatever. But I trust that I can convince a jury to look at the condition of the parking lot, how much time my client had to look down versus the owner of the parking lot to fix the parking spot, you know. You're talking about a parking lot where vehicles come and go. So it's like, okay, there is a challenge. There is a bias against you because it's a trip and fall case. Nobody likes trip and fall case. Nobody likes slip and fall case because it's like this person is taking advantage of the system. But you need to really look at your client to the eyes and see, does this person deserve to get something, or she or he or they screwed up, you know?
Right.
But that also reminds me of that McDonald's case where the old lady, she got the hot coffee.
Right,
And
right.
when you just hear it like that, you're like, Well, yeah, coffee's hot. Like, you know, what the hell?
I just got my first hot coffee case.
Yeah.
Really?
Last week.
But when the coffee gives you 3rd-degree burns,
That's some hot
That's
ass
the
coffee.
thing.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
So that case, when you first hear about that case, the hot coffee case is like he spilled or she spilled coffee on her lap, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And she got burned. Like that's what happens when you spill coffee. Like who was
Yeah.
at fault? The person who had the glass or the cup
Yeah.
and spilled coffee, or McDonald's because they made the coffee hot.
Right.
But then you start getting into the policies of McDonald's, and you start digging into the case, and I don't know what the reason behind was. I think it was like it gives you more coffee per liter or something, but they had 30 to 50 degrees hotter.
Yeah.
The
Just
water
right before boiling.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, and that's
And that's
why
how
this
they won the
person.
case.
So it's about
Yeah.
the temperature of the water and why they do it. And if you start digging into the whys,
Right.
you end up finding out that there is always a money reason behind.
Right. So McDonald's are trying to make more profit by increasing the temperature of their coffee in order to increase the volume that they can produce, and because of that,
They risk
They're-
safety.
exactly.
Safety of the that's something
they're putting
ends up
money
being-
over the safety.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Man.
like the third priority for them, you know, like or last priority, safety of their clients, because. But of course, by the end of the day, you need to have a balance. Like frivolous lawsuits, there are always out there,
Right.
and you don't want to be a part of a frivolous lawsuit. So I think getting to meet your client, because sometimes, you know, you may find people that are actually lying to you. They wanna win the case. They're not gonna tell you about, you know, I don't know. 1 month before the accident, they were receiving injections in their back, and now they're claiming that they need injections for the rest of their lives. But well, that happened before the crash, and you didn't know,
Right.
because your client didn't tell you. So you need to do this like due diligence, you know, investigate. And now there are a lot of companies now with AI that are able to get into the medical, you know, the medical background
Oh,
of
the
people
records.
very fast. Yeah, there are a lot of good companies.
Huh.
And I heard a lot of insurance companies are actually leaving California now because, well, for one, like fire insurance, they're like leaving California. They're like, we can't keep up with it. What can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, by the end of the day, we need to remember that insurance is a business, and you know, if they are not making the same money they can make someone else, they're gonna go somewhere else to make more money. You know, but insurances are like lawyers, like doctors. You know, they are there, and if one company leaves, another one is gonna come in. You know, and they're gonna insure and they're gonna make money anyway. By the end of the day, the insurance company, I don't think I've heard of one that has gone like bankrupt in the last, I don't know, decade. I don't know if you heard about that, because they are not only insured, they have like their financial, you know, assets in the state. They are reinsured outside, and then outside of the United
Insured
States, they are
again.
reinsured again. And if it's not this insurance company, they have the reinsurance company. So there are different layers of insurance. There are going to be insurance companies.
They'll never go out of business.
Well,
Right.
you know what's funny is like I remember like back at like 20 years ago, or whatever, and you would hear it was frowned upon to sue the insurance company. Like you got in an accident, got hurt, whatever. Oh no, like, you know, I mean, it wasn't that bad or whatever the excuse is. They wouldn't go after because they felt bad about it, right?
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that's why you have insurance, is to cover these when this stuff happens. That's why you're insured.
Right.
And also, the insurance company is some of the biggest scammers out there.
Right.
You know, they're out here scamming you. Like they're not trying to pay you for what you're insured for. They're in the job of not paying you.
Right. And that's where the problems come up, right? Like that's probably the reason why personal injury attorneys came about, was because someone had insurance and the
Somebody needs to
insurance
advocate
company
for you.
was not covering their needs.
Right.
Right. And it's crazy to me when I hear like my insurance didn't even cover my medical bills.
Right.
Well,
Like, that's why.
think about it.
That's
Let's say you get in
crazy.
an accident. The insurance company will teach you, well, you need to call insurance company right away.
Right.
And you need to, like, you're still discombobulated, and they're trying to make you sign this
Sign.
piece of paper, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And then
You don't
find
even know
out-
the extent of
You don't
your
know the extent of your injuries
nothing.
yet, your brain injuries,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You don't know what's going on yet. And then you find out, like, oh, man, I have all these problems. And the insurance company's like, oh, no, you're capped. You have to cover the rest out of pocket.
sign this.
So the best for the insurance company is to find someone, you know, lost and not knowing what to do right after an accident.
Right.
Because the injuries, I have a catastrophic case, for example, and my client didn't know she was injured until a couple of weeks, like she was seriously injured until a couple of weeks after.
Right.
She went to the ER right away after the accident, the crash, and the doctor sent her home with a strain in her neck and some broken ribs, and that's it. And she had a brain injury. She was lucky that she didn't end up getting going quadriplegic, because she has her spinal cord hanging on a little string, right now. So she's gonna need surgery. She lost all her teeth. It was a pretty bad case. And if the insurance company had called her and offered her, I don't know, like even $50,000, which is a lot of money, if they offered that money right there, she needed that money at the time.
Right.
But she would have been settling in pennies on the dollar. Whereas on the flip side, insurance, the policies, they are a contract, right? Mm-hmm. So you're paying the insurance company to do something, which is pay you money when you suffer an experience like, an injury, or you lose your home, etc., etc. So there is this legal action, that like cause of action that you have if the insurance company doesn't pay you. So when you hear about lawyers telling people about they open a policy, what that means is the insurance company acted in bad faith. Because what the way it works is you give the insurance company an opportunity to settle your case. So you're representing a victim, someone ran a red light and ended up causing catastrophic injuries to your client. You give the insurance company an opportunity to pay the full amount of the policy, and the insurance company says, no, we're not going to pay. And there is like a $100 or $1 million policy. Your guy's quadriplegic, so clearly those damages are beyond 1 million, right? You gave the insurance company an opportunity to comply with their side of the bargain, paying the contract, paying the limits of the policy. Mm-hmm. They said no. So what is that they are doing when they say no? They are now putting their insured, the person who ran the red light, on the hook for millions and millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So later on, you go to court and you say, you talk to the jury and you say, okay, how much this is worth? And the jury is going to say, I don't know, 20, 30, 50, 100, depending on, the attorney and how the evidence comes along. And this guy is now on the hook for 100 million, whereas he was paying a policy of 1 million. Right. Why did that happen if I had a policy of 1 million and they were giving me an opportunity to get off the hook? Well, now the insurance company should pay because you acted in bad faith. Mm-hmm. Right. So then there is a second case against the insurance for bad faith, for the balance.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So there are these lawyers that specialize in bad faith type of claims. Mm. And, they handle the second leg of the pre-I case,
Yeah.
So the insurance companies know now when the policy is open, and they know that they need to settle for more than the limits.
You know something I like that you brought up that hadn't occurred to me before. You brought this up I believe at Mardi Gras, where you said why you want to come to an attorney, because the attorney will help you get the best doctors, because the doctors will work on a lean, meaning so you can work with the best doctors to get the best care for you, right. And then have the insurance compensate them later. You can negotiate that.
So I think it's important for people in general to know that it's hard to be an expert, in court. You don't get to hire every doctor to be your expert. You want to hire the best doctor ever. Because that's the guy you want to have in your corner. Mm-hmm. So the insurance company also wants to have a good doctor. So it's like Yale, Stanford, fellowship trained, board certified orthopedic surgeon that now teaches in med school. Mm-hmm. That's the guy you want to have. So that's the guy you want your client to see. And then on the other side, there is a case that came out, I think it was in 2018 or 2017, the Pebley case, which basically gives the client in a BI type of action the right to treat with whatever doctor he or she or they would want to treat with, you know? So that case tells you that it doesn't matter if your insurance doesn't cover it. I will need to check the specifics of that case, like what it specifically says. So please don't. But basically, after that case, you have the right to treat with whatever doctor you want, and it doesn't matter if your insurance company doesn't cover it. You know.
Right.
So like the defense attorney can come and say, oh well, why didn't he use his insurance? Well, because that person that you screwed up has the right to treat with whatever doctor he wants, and then claim claim the damages so that you pay that doctor. Why is he gonna have to use his insurance if his insurance doesn't cover that doctor? You know,
Exactly.
Right. It's like I got an HMO, and I'm trying to go to a PPO doctor, bro.
Yeah.
right? So yeah,
These
like,
HMO
why not?
doctors is trash.
You should be entitled to go to the best spine surgeon or
Yeah.
you know board certified neurologist to treat for your traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
And that's another topic, you know, TDI cases, because those are tricky. Those
Well, yeah,
are,
because how do you prove like you get bumped in the head?
Yeah.
You know, even with CTE, you can't prove that till after the person has died and they do an autopsy, they check the brain and stuff. Like, how do you prove brain damage? How do you prove this?
So basically, when the person dies, back in the day, I think don't take my word here. I think it was 2020 or 2021 or 2019. I forgot the exact year, but in California started what is called the survival action that before didn't exist, which is the decedent, the deceased, like the person who died. They had the deceased have the right to claim for the time that they were agonizing.
So even after they passed away?
After they pass away.
So who gets that money?
The
family?
survivors. Yeah.
Survivors?
Yeah.
Okay.
The wife, the
Descendants.
kids, or if there are no wives, no kids, no children.
Because before, if you were to pass away, does that money? They're like, okay, case closed. We don't gotta pay nothing, right?
So it would be a wrongful death case. If the person passed away as a result of the injury, that there is a wrongful death case. But now there is also the cause of action of the damages that belong to the person who died. So you have two different type of damage. One is a wrongful death action, so it's a loss of affection, loss of consortium for a spouse, you know, like having your dad in your life that has a value. So that's one type of cause of action.
Right.
And then the other one would be the damages that belong to the person that passed away.
So the suffering that they experienced while they were alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leading up to the
So
death.
that's relatively new. We can check the exact year. I think it was 2020, but it's very new. You know, that's something that just changed a couple of years ago. Before,
we'll get next time you come on, we'll get a guy who's just fact checking.
Yeah.
We can do that. Fact check that.
we can check that real quick.
All right, let's
Hey, pull that up.
So let's take it back. Let's go back to Chile.
Okay.
All right. So you're from Chile, but you also have dual citizenship. Tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us about your decision to come over here and then start practicing law in America.
So I was born, raised in Chile. Spanish is my first language, and I was always a person who liked interaction with people. So when I started doing litigation down there, it was just writing motions, writing pleading documents, going to court a little bit, not much, and the oral side was only if you were arguing, presenting your arguments before the courts of appeal or the Supreme Court. You didn't have this thing where like you're sitting on a table like we are right now and cross-examining a witness, looking at the person to the eyes, or having the jury trials that I'm very passionate about. I really like that. So instead of doing litigation down there, I started my career as a real estate transactional lawyer because I like the negotiation side of things, getting to talk to someone and convince them to sell their home, to create this like process where you're developing a land and then selling it to other people, more the transactional but also people type of experience. And then I realized that it was also just writing contracts and the negotiation side was
boring.
And part of this is interesting because here in the United States, attorneys don't go abroad as much. They stay here in general, to specialize. In Chile, in Europe, we go abroad and we get, a second degree or a specialization doing something that we want to do later on, So that's in the back of your head always. If you want to grow in your law firm and become a partner, you have to have some experience abroad. And the United States is usually an option, or London, the UK is another option. So, schools, I mean, if I start naming schools here, I'm not going to end, today. But there are many, many good schools here where you can go and get this specialization. And then in the UK, you have a London School of Economics, Oxford, King's College. You have all of these well-established schools. And I always wanted to do this. Come to the United States, study, and then work for a little and see how it is. And I also like surfing a lot.
Nice.
So for me, California was like a fixed decision. I didn't want to go anywhere else other than California. And then I landed in this place where I was challenging myself in a second language. I always liked challenges in like all my life. And I was living next to the beach, surfing every morning before going to work. And then all of a sudden, something that started as a nice lifestyle became my passion, So from being passionate about other things, I always liked law, but now it's like something that I breathe every day. And I just love it. I love being better in what I do, and I like doing what I do,
And every time you win a case, you get that high of...
It's
winning.
I've always liked adrenaline sports. I grew up snowboarding since I was a little kid. I say
Chile.
Santiago is like LA, but whereas LA has the ocean, Santiago has the mountains.
Oh.
I always think about how different would have been if I had been born in the United States. I would probably be a better surfer than a snowboarder. But since
California, we got both.
But it's like kind of like a mission to go to the mountains here. Like 5 hours to Mammoth, and then you have Big Bear, which is like 3 hours,
3
right?
hours.
So anyway, I grew up snowboarding. I was like training, I competed in the nationals. One year I won the national championship in Big Air.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
I was like 20 years old. There was this national cup called the Milo Cup. And you had different stops in different ski resorts, and I ended up winning. And that was amazing. So I always had this competitive background. I always like competition. And now here I am doing something intellectually competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Real quick, because I'm not too familiar with snowboarding.
Yeah.
I've never even been in the snow. So is it the person who can get down the mountain the fastest?
So it depends on the discipline. So you have different disciplines.
Events.
Like the type of race or the type of discipline, I would call it. I don't know if...
maybe some more tricks.
Yeah, so you have the half
race.
pipe, you have the bigger, which is a huge jump. You have a slope style, which is like a slope with different, features. And you have like the rails, jumps, whatnot. What you see in the Olympics now, which is relatively new. Since
That's the half pipe now, right?
So half pipe, and I think slope style is in the Olympics. So I was doing bigger, which is like the huge jump.
Huge jump.
Yeah.
You got video?
Yeah, I do.
We'll watch it afterwards.
Yeah. So you go down that massive jump, and then it's like a 10,090 80.
No, not as much.
And
Not
then
as much. Yeah, not as much.
just Shaun White in the air, like you grow your hair out.
Well, over there, I was like one of the best. But then you come to United States and you see guys that are killing it, and they are not even sponsored. So it's like the competitive. We're a little town. We're from Chile, small. And also over there, it's very hard to access, the snow for the general population, because it's expensive, like everywhere. Whereas here, you have more access to things because the acquisition power of the regular people is higher, So you can go to the mountains, and those financial barriers don't exist as much as they exist in South America,
Yeah, America's the land of plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plenty.
Plenty of anything you want.
So when you first came here, did you come straight to San Diego?
No, I went to LA. I went
LA
to
first.
UCLA.
So you just went straight to UCLA?
Yeah, straight there. Actually, no. I arrived a little earlier. Yeah, I had a girlfriend at the time. I don't want to like add this to the thing, but
Came for a girl. Nah.
yeah. So I had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
I was like figuring out my relationship
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
And, but don't add
Moving on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
so
dope,
I
man.
broke up with her, and
Yeah.
then like so I arrived in April, and my law school started in August.
So at what point were you like you didn't because you want to study abroad to be a partner in Chile? You know what I mean?
Eventually, yeah.
But is that still a goal, or you came
No,
here and you're
no,
like,
no.
You're
When
like,
did that change?
Yeah.
yeah. What was the moment you're like, I think I want to?
So
stay
I
here?
wasn't really okay. The usual thing that you're thinking when you're about to leave to a place that you don't know as well, like how it is to live there, where you don't have family, you don't have your friends you grew up with. It's like, okay, I'm gonna come back. But as soon as I arrived, I knew that I didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
I knew that.
As soon as you felt that 70-degree weather.
Right? But more than that, it's like I am doing something here fully on my own. It's not like this was not given to me by anyone. I'm one more person trying to get myself out there and try to achieve something. And there is nothing more fulfilling than feeling that. Like you're building your own future without anything that is actually given to you.
Yes.
Of course, you meet people, they help you out or
Yeah,
throughout the way.
Yeah.
But you're building everything on your own, and it's not like my family knows this guy that is connecting me with this other person, and that's why I got the spot in this law school, or like that.
Right.
Yeah.
As it could happen for someone in a different country where you grew up, and. So it's like more of a level field here.
Yes.
And also it's challenging because I have, it's my second language. So it's always more challenging. Taking the bar was the first challenge, and then.
So what was that process like for you learning English? Did you start while you were I'm assuming you started while you were in Chile?
Yeah, so I went to a Catholic school. So in Chile you have the private schools, the public schools, and then the public education over there is not as good as here. So like if you want to have a decent education, usually people go to private schools there, and if they have the money to pay for them.
Right.
So that's one of our problems down there, that education is bad, it's not good. So then you have within the private schools, you had the Catholic schools and the English schools. I was in the Catholic school, so I didn't learn much English, And then little by little, I started learning by watching movies with subtitles in English. It's like, okay, this is how it's said, and then how it's spelled and whatever.
Right.
And then I came to the United States in 2012. Yeah, 2012.
Okay.
I came in 2012, and I went to Lake Tahoe for 3 months. How do you remember that? Huh? Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When did I tell you that?
I think you probably told me right before the podcast started. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2012. You said you came over here in 2012.
Yeah, so in 2012, I just bought a flight. The prior season, snow season, was like the best season in the history of Lake Tahoe. And I arrived on 26th of December, something like that, and it was the worst season in the history of Lake Tahoe. No work, so I was like 3 months eating Great Value pizza, from. So I gained a lot of weight, and I didn't work at all, but I learned English,
Right.
I was like,
Yo, you went to Lake Tahoe is like a micro. It's like does not represent the rest of
No,
California at all,
Not at
bro.
all. Yeah, I know,
it's
I
like
know.
its own world.
Wait,
you
Lake
know?
Tahoe's in California? I thought it was in
Well, it's half
Nevada.
and
it's a half and half.
It's
yeah.
literally
Yeah.
split. If you know how California has that corner like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
Lake Tahoe is literally like that.
Oh, okay, got you.
So it's half Nevada, half
I
California.
learned something.
So I was
right
there 3 months waiting for it to snow. I wanted to give snowboarding classes to some people. They pay very well, and with that I was gonna pay. But I basically worked as a paralegal the year before, law clerk.
Yeah.
The year before at my law school's dean's office. And all the money I made that year, I spent it those 3 months that I was in Lake Tahoe waiting for it to snow and to make money, you know. So that's how I learned a little more. I wasn't speaking very well, you know, and it's been a process. It's been a steep, you know, very steep curve of learning where I feel like I'm a lawyer. I pass the bar and I argue in court. You know, I'm able to speak it, but every day I learn more and more, and that's what's fascinating about this, you know. Now I don't read in Spanish anymore at all. Every now and then, you know, when there are some authors that you don't want to read translated,
right?
But when I read books, every book that, you know, I read nowadays is all English.
What about dream? Do you dream in Spanish too?
I dream in both languages.
Both languages?
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I hear.
Yeah, in both languages. Yeah. And I speak when I dream, you know, like, so it's like, it's pretty revealing. Yeah.
Like speaking Spanglish out loud.
Sometimes I speak in Spanish and, you know, yeah. My girlfriend tells me, like, you're actually speaking, like, what were you saying? And now she's understanding Spanish a little better. So she's trying to decipher what's happening in my subconscious, you know?
She's trying to figure out if you're talking about some other girls.
Like, mamacita. That's funny. That's awesome.
So,
I can't imagine learning a new language and then passing a bar in that.
How? Yo, that is crazy. When you took the bar, did you take it in English or Spanish?
No, in English. There is no bar in Spanish.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. I don't want to like show myself as if I'm like bragging or anything like that. But the California bar, they say
it's the hardest bar in the country.
They say it's the hardest bar in the country.
Yeah.
So I was pretty excited when I found
the first time.
The second time.
That's still impressive.
Good. We know people that it took them a lot more than that.
I've met people it took them 4, 6, 7. Some people 7 times. Like impressive.
A lot of studying. The first time I didn't take it as seriously. I hired this company that kind of made me study, like bar prep, that made me study in a way that I never studied before.
Right.
So I was like waiting for it to click, and it never clicked. You know, I was like following the bar prep. I was like, okay, but when are we gonna like sit down and read this stuff and memorize? You know? It's like, no, all of a sudden you're gonna know. No. The second time I studied the way that I studied all my life, and that's how I passed, you know, like memorizing the things, writing the essays, doing the multiple choice. And actually, the bar results just came out. A lot of, 2 of my friends passed, so I'm pretty happy for them. Yeah.
How was the process of becoming a U.S. citizen?
So in this case, my dad was the one who gave me the citizenship because he was born here in the United States.
Yeah.
So and
then he moved down and met your mom in Chile?
So he lived in the United States, the minimum required to give the citizenship to your, you know, children. My mom is not American. My mom is Chilean.
Right.
My dad is also Chilean, but he was born here and came here and lived here, the minimum required to. I don't think that if I had applied for the citizenship, you know, now, they wouldn't have given it to me. You know, nowadays with the immigration. It
takes many, like a decade, 2 decades. It's a long process.
So the fact that he was born here. So it's a funny story. My grandpa was arriving. He was in the Navy, and he arrived with a newborn baby, my aunt, and he notices that my grandma was like, you know, you have a baby, you get a big belly. And then you have the baby, and your big belly remains there, but little by little you start like getting your belly, you know, back to normal, to how it was. My grandpa's like, she's not getting any skinnier. She's getting actually, you know, her belly's getting bigger. So what's happening? So he took her to the doctor, and the doctor was like, you didn't let her come out of the plane. She's pregnant again. So
bro, how?
So my aunt and my dad, they are Irish twins.
Irish
they're called.
twins.
So my aunt was born January, my dad in December. So he was born here, and it's funny because we all tell about how expensive the health care system is. But my grandpa always says, like, I paid like $5 for your dad to be born in the United States. It was so cheap.
That's wild.
So
that's awesome.
There's even people in America that they don't even know they're pregnant until they're about to have the baby.
What?
Really?
Yeah, bro. I don't know.
Well,
bruh.
you became a dad recently, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For the third
congratulations.
time.
For the third time, yeah.
For the third time.
Oh wow.
But like, yeah, like there's, I literally know people closely that had no clue they were pregnant. Some girls, obviously, like some people are bigger, right? But she wasn't even that big. Some people don't show that much.
Yeah.
They just think they're gaining weight. I don't know what it is about the whole, the not getting your period thing. That's, but you know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
people who have no idea they're pregnant, and then all of a sudden they'll be
Wow.
like, what's going on? And they go into labor.
Well, that may be
have so many questions.
an issue when
Yeah.
like you're drinking, partying, and you
Yeah.
have like a 8 month,
Yeah.
like
Hey,
yeah.
back in the day, they used to smoke it up and drink it up
Right.
before they even knew.
Yeah.
Wild,
You know what I'm
wild.
saying?
Damn.
Hey man, tell us about your goals. What are your goals for your practice
Yeah.
now that you've been in business on your own for a year now, right?
Yeah.
What's the next steps for you over the next 5 years?
So the first year is always hard because you're putting yourself out there, not only in terms of your image or physically, going to meet people and trying to build your practice, but also because you're spending all your money in your cases. The structure we use is on a contingency, which we already talked about,
Right.
where our clients don't pay a dime. We upfront all of the costs. So for experts, even sometimes doctors that don't want to work on a lien, and we should explain what a lien is, because we can explain that a lien is a right that the doctor has to collect after the case is settled. So you don't pay the doctor upfront. The doctor collects once the case is settled.
Right.
And the doctor can accept or reject the lien, because the defense likes to say, oh, this doctor is on a lien. That means they are all part of the same thing. If the client doesn't win the case, the doctor doesn't get paid. That's not the case, because these liens actually go against the client later on. Sometimes not, depends on the doctor. But the doctor, to accept a lien, they need to really believe in the case.
Yeah.
And you have a good expert that actually believes that this person got injured and that it's not a pre-existing condition, it's something that caused as a result. So basically, you get medical treatment on a lien as a client, right? But then there are doctors that are not willing to treat on a lien. Especially, like, for example, there are neuropsychologists, PTSD, in that realm, where we have to pay. I just had to pay like $3,000 for one appointment for one of my clients out of my pocket. And if I don't win that case,
It's out.
I lose the money,
Wow.
know? And that's one client out of the many that I'm handling right now. So medical care, litigation costs, each filing, you need to file a lawsuit, you need to, mediation, for example, how much you pay a mediation for half a day. It could go to 15,000,
That's
so
crazy.
everything is super expensive, and
Yeah.
you need to have. Now there are companies that lend money, but then there is an interest, and I don't like my clients paying an interest
Right.
after their case is settled. So yeah, the first year is just like pain.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing my first my first results.
Hey,
and they are good results.
congratulations, man.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, and there are good results. And since I opened, because I
Yeah.
had my settlements back in the day,
Yeah.
when I was an associate, but on your own,
Yeah.
Right.
it tastes different because
Oh, yeah.
you get your money back, what you
Yeah.
upfronted, and then you get paid.
Yeah.
A sweet amount if it's a good case. But
Man,
when you
congratulations.
start getting the small cases. You start getting the cases where you believe in the client deserves to get paid, and it's not necessarily a catastrophic, 8-figure, 7-figure, 6-figure. It's a 5-figure or even a 4-figure case sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
But the guy deserves it, and you're willing to provide that service. I have a case right now where medical bills are like 12, 13,000, and the insurance company is offering 5, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to try this case.
Yeah.
There is no other option,
Yeah.
And then there is a way to try those cases where the insurance company is being unreasonable. You know that the damages are higher than the amount they are offering, and you know how much is the minimum you're gonna be able to get. There is a section called the 998 section in the Code of Civil Procedure, in the California Code of CCP, where you offer the other side to pay you a certain amount, say 10,000, and if you later on win for 10,001, you get interest and you get costs. So there is an incentive for them to pay you.
Gotcha.
So basically, you know that they are lowballing your client, you send a 998 offer as soon as you file a lawsuit or as soon as it's pertinent to send the 998 offer, and then they must pay you. I actually have a deadline today for one of my 998 offer. I know they're gonna pay. It's a small case, but if they don't pay, then they have to pay for the interest. They have to pay for the cost. So then something that is not a big case, it may become a better case.
Let me ask you a question. If insurance companies paid their clients or their victims or whatever it is exactly what they deserved every single time, would they stay in business?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they make a risk analysis study where they insured. I mean, of course they make more money because they don't pay.
Right.
But in order for them to give you an insurance, they know that they are able to pay for that amount that they are insuring you for.
Right.
And there is an statistics, analysis of like, okay, every how long this type of accidents happen. Okay, this is how much we're able to pay. Of course, if like an unprecedented, calamity that companies insuring for happens, they can go out of business and they will need to be rescued, by another entity financially, But in general, their business is thought out in a way that they're able to pay for their policies.
Man, and that's big, man. Congratulations on your huge win because, like you're saying, a lot of people don't understand the upfront cost.
Yeah.
And as a new PI intern, there's so much competition.
Yeah.
And you're competing against the big dogs who have the money, to get those cases. And sometimes you have to, you got other attorneys referring you, but they're referring you the cases that they don't want.
Right.
That are the headaches. They're like, oh, let's give it to the new guy or the guy new on the scene. And the fact that you're able to be like, you're a year into being on your own now, your own firm. And it takes, like after we talked to a lot of attorneys, and it takes them like at minimum 18 months, to really get it going, start seeing that money. And you're seeing it within the first 12 months, which is like super impressive, man. And it just goes to show that like you're legit,
Thank you.
And dedicated.
And dedicated.
Yeah.
That's number one.
I have a rule where I don't take a case where I don't like my client, and I am willing to take the case to trial if I have to. So I'm always thinking on trial. And if I think I'm going to be standing in front of the jury with a client I don't like, then why am I going to take that case, So by the end of the day, it's about helping people that you like to help. And that I feel is pretty easy to convey. When you like the person, when you care about the person, that person can't be there standing, or maybe they don't have the tools, to speak to the jury the way that trial lawyers do. So it makes our job easy. Because if I don't like my client, then how am I going to ask the jury to give my client money? They are not going to like it either,
And it makes you a dangerous attorney for the insurance company. They're not going to want to mess with you. They're like, hey, you don't want to mess with Federico, man. He wants to go to trial. He's salivating. He wants to go to trial. Let's just settle.
I can tell you that it happens, in general, from a business perspective, going to trial is not the best idea. The billboard attorneys, and I don't have anything against billboard attorneys. It's another type of business where they get more cases, they get quantity. But those guys, in general, try to settle the case as soon as possible and get new cases. Because if the case goes to trial, that freezes you during the entirety of the trial. And if you don't have other attorneys replacing you in your business, then you're wasting opportunities of settling other cases, right?
Yeah.
But for me, what I like the most is to be in court, to be in trial. So during this 1 year, the cases that I settled, I actually settled them because my client wanted to settle. They were worried about trial. It gives you anxiety. You don't want to be cross-examined. But if you ask me, I want to take every case to trial if my client wants to take it to trial. I'm going to recommend my client what's best for them. I'm going to, of course, trial has these nuances that you don't know what's going to happen. A jury can be pretty hard to read and know what they're going to do. But after you give the client the information, they made the decision. you know, and that's what you need to do by the end of the day. So in this case that I just settled last week, I really, really, really liked my client. She was amazing. I mean, she is amazing. And I really wanted to get her what she deserves. But she just is very scared about trial. She doesn't want to take it to trial. So I need to do what the rules of professional responsibility say. You need to abide, and that's the word they use, by what your client wants.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
You're like, man, all right.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
But on the flip side, I get the settlement money, and it's good for my business, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, good trial lawyers go to trial. So I want to get myself out there as much as possible, you know?
That's awesome.
So
Federico, man, that was awesome.
Where-
It was great hearing your story. Yeah.
where can people find you?
I have actually 2 Instagram accounts. One is called Fede Lawyer. It's FEDE Lawyer, and that's my English, you know, account. And then I have one in Spanish that is called Abogado Federico. Abogado Federico. Yeah. So it's a little bit longer, and the Spanish speaking listeners may find it, but we can put it right. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
man.
Okay.
Awesome.
Good.
And then you have a website or a phone number?
I have a website. It's lathroplawfirm.com, and my phone is 760-723-9612.
Got it. There it is. Hit your boy up. Hit us up. This has been another episode of the Get Louder Podcast, and we out.